dissecting my pack, I'm going to teach you a little ditty that I call the f-s-entials, because all of the components start with either F or S. And it goes like this. Flashlight, first aid fluid, fire starter, fashioner and food, finder, signaler, Swiss Army knife, shelter and sunscreen could save your life. Okay, let's try that again. Everybody. Flashlight, first aid fluid, fire starter, fashion and food, finder, signaler, Swiss Army knife, shelter and sunscreen could save your life. And of course, I'll be going into detail about what each of those terms means as we go through the pack. So, first off, flashlight. Here it is here. Flashlight. I like the cranky kind because then I never have to worry about batteries. If you are going to take a battery flashlight, then obviously keep in mind that you also have to make sure that your batteries are going to last you as long as you're going to need them, which means generally take extra batteries. Reasons flashlight's important is because it can prevent you from getting lost in the first place. Oftentimes, if you're out later than you expected, you get caught by darkness, a flashlight can help you find the trail instead of wandering off into the woods to actually become lost. Little first aid kits, you can get these in most outdoor stores. Contain a variety of handy medical equipment, such as a elastic bandage for treating sprains, gauze for wound dressing, antiseptic spray of some kind, and a sleeping mask in case you need to take a little nappy poo. Okay, I put that in there. That's extra. Moist towelette and bandages. Okay, confession. That kit is not the one that I always carry with me. I do carry it in my backpack, but I wasn't carrying my backpack with me when I was out on my day hikes. So I will show you the first aid kit that I always carry with me, which part of it is here. It's a little pocket face mask for providing respiratory assistance. There we go. And in the little package there, I also have a couple of adhesive strips, Band-Aids. That is the essentials for providing CPR at least. Well, the Band-Aids you would need. Okay, what else have I got in here? Have a waterproof bag in which I carry feminine hygiene pad. You may well laugh. However, it makes an excellent wound dressing, very absorbent, and obviously in combination with some kind of adhesive tape for heavy bleeds, and obviously comes in handy for its original intention. Also in here, I have a little booklet of first aid instructions. You should read those before you actually need to provide first aid. And a little flash drive container. These come in really handy for carrying little bits and pieces. And I've got a sewing kit in there. Suppose you could use it to sew up wounds. I am normally not sewing up wounds. I'm sewing up tears in my gear. But I also have in there some ibuprofen. Vitamin I, very handy at the end of the day for treating the normal aches and pains that come along, my age at least, with rigorous hikes. Extra stuff that I carry in this little man purse of mine. Sewing kit, I mentioned previously. I always carry a needle and thread. The thread is wrapped around this jeweler's lens. Actually, I'm an entomologist. I like to carry it around so I can look at little tiny critters that I might find in the field. Fluid is next on the list. I like to carry a metal water bottle because I've broken bottles in the past before and haven't yet broken my metal bottle. I prefer to carry water with me when I'm hiking. Some people might prefer a sports drink of some kind. Add some additional energy in the form of sucrose to your hikes. Or now they have water, amino acid water as well. Whatever you want, as long as it's fluid. I also carry with me, when I'm going any significant distance, a water filter, camp filter. People know how to use these who are acquainted with camping. I believe now they also have kind of straw systems that work to filter water, and UV systems as well. If you're going to use a UV disinfectant device, you have to be starting with water that's fairly clean to begin with. Many of you might be aware that you can only go for 3 minutes without air, 3 days without water, and 3 weeks without food. But under some conditions, fluid is much more important than that, and you may be putting yourself in grave danger if you're in a hot environment, if you're not making sure that you can replenish your body's water supply. So, we've covered flashlight, first aid, fluid, and we're moving into fire starter, fashion, and food. Fire starter. I always carry a little portable blowtorch thingy. Regular normal lighter would be sufficient. Matches are also a good thing to take along as a backup. Waterproof, preferably. In my regular backpack, I carry a flint and a block of magnesium for sparking fires. Lighters, matches, magnesium blocks, and flints basically all provide the same portion of the fire triangle, the ignition. You're also going to need oxygen, which luckily we don't normally need to carry that around with us, and fuel. And fuel is normally the most difficult item to procure in a survival situation, because normally if it's a survival situation, it's one in which you really need fire, which is normally when it's wet and rainy, which normally precludes the abundance of fuel, appropriate dry fuel that you can find when it's nice and sunny and dry, when you don't need a fire. So in a survival situation, you want to be looking for generally upright dead trees from which you can break off dry branches, or if you're in an area like the northern boreal forests of Canada, you can often find paper birch, and of course most people who live in those kind of areas know what a great tinder material that makes. You want to collect a variety of tinder and kindling and more firewood than you think you'll actually need to get through a night. Obviously, again, if you have the opportunity, you want to collect your firewood before it gets dark. So think ahead. In survival situations, we often talk about the acronym STOP, which stands for stop where you are. T is for think, O is for observe, and P is for plan. Very often, if you don't know where you are, you don't know where you want to go to. So you want to hunker down, set yourself up a camp, and wait to be rescued. And of course, fire is an important component of both helping you to survive through the night if it's cold, as well as assisting as a signal, so searchers will be more readily able to find you. Even during the day, the smoke will assist in searchers helping to locate your position. Okay, onward to fashion, by which I mean clothing, of course. And I don't necessarily mean that you have to be a fashionable dresser, as probably readily apparent by my appearance, but your clothing should be appropriate for the environment in which you will find yourself, and generally you want to be wearing layers. So I've got a inner layer of quick dry material that wicks moisture away from the skin. On the outside of that, I've got a layer of merino wool, and on the outside of that, I've got a light fleece. so I can strip down, take off layers as appropriate to the temperature. If I'm hiking, well, the whole day that I was hiking, I was just hiking in my t-shirt and only put on the other materials when I got back to camp, and was no longer generating a lot of body heat because I was no longer exerting myself. And of course, if you do get caught out at night, again, nice hooded, rainproof, windproof jacket will serve as clothing slash shelter to maintain your body warmth through the night. Clothing, of course, includes proper foot gear. You want to make sure that you've got good boots if you're going to be covering any rough terrain. I've got a pair of wicking socks on the inside and a pair of wool socks on the outside for warmth. You'll also note that I'm wearing a merino wool cap because it's a bit chilly where I am. Covers my nice bald head, keeps my heat in. A lot of people like to wear a ball cap during the day to shade their face, keep their sun exposure down. That's one option. I've got a canvas hat that I like to wear during summer weather. Looks like one of those Tilly style caps to give a boost to a product that's locally made in the area from whence I hail, Vancouver Island, back in British Columbia. In my pack, I also carry a little kind of doctor style surgeon's bonnet kind of thing. I always have this with me in case I have forgotten to bring other headgear. Covers my bald head, protects it from the sun or from heat loss if I've forgotten to bring other headgear with me. Of course, a bandana. Almost always carry a bandana. I think I have two of them in my pocket today because I found an extra one in my pack. So I've got this lovely bandana slash head cloth, beautiful petite fabric from Ghana. Another call out to a land I love. And a regular bandana. Also handy for pre-filtering water. If you're not using a water filter and you're boiling water, for instance, is another way of obtaining pure drinking water. If you don't have a water filter per se, pre-filtering it through a bandana or through your hat is a good way to get out the big baits. Alright, on to food. So, mentioned go 3 minutes without air, 3 days in some circumstances without water, about 3 weeks without food. So food, not a super crucial element of survival unless you're, lost on a desert island or something, but certainly can contribute to your psychological well-being. I'm actually on a fast today. If you're interested in fasting, Google intermittent fasting. I find that it assists me in keeping my arthritis in check. I am going without food by choice. However, it is by choice, and in case I find myself in a survival situation, I always carry with me some food bars. What I got in here? I've got 3 of them, plus a little vial of alcohol that's also useful as an antiseptic. First aid, mentioned earlier, and I generally carry some fishing line. I'm not really pulling out any fishing line. Are you fooled? But it's there. Wrapped around a little scope there, and I've only ever had to use it for sewing up my gear bag and such, clothing, but it would certainly come in handy if I ever need to catch some fish in a survival situation. Got it there, use it for snares, use it to hang up your clothes, to dry them if you get wet. Fishing line, great stuff, even if you never fish. So, we just covered fire starter, fashion, and food. And we're moving on to finders, signaler, Swiss Army knife. So, by a finder, what I mean is navigation equipment. So, the most obvious such material being map, Good trail map is really handy for choosing an appropriate route and sticking to it. Compass. Uh-oh, busted. I just realized I don't have my compass with me. So no. But I do have a GPS unit with me that I was using today, and yeah, frankly, I find it a whole heck of a lot easier to use a GPS unit than a compass. However, easy doesn't necessarily mean reliable. A GPS unit can run out of batteries, can not get a signal, so I normally do carry a compass with me. Might be in this bag, who knows? There's so much crap in here. I may just not have encountered it yet. We may find it yet. Finder are the devices, you should carry more than one, that one uses to locate oneself in one's environment and to find one's way to one's next point in one's environment. Signaler. So, signaler can be your fire, for instance. Can be a whistle. I've got one here somewhere. Here we go. I'm not going to blow it too much louder than that because there are other people in the campground here. Mirror. Could also use a piece of shiny tin. What else? Lasers. I've seen a locator laser that are pretty skookum. What else might one use as a signaler? Ah, yes. The nearly ubiquitous cell phone. If you've got, this is obviously everyone's first recourse if they find themselves lost. They will reach for their cell phone. Many such devices now have GPS, both the phone and GPS functions thereof, of course, depend upon it being charged and being able to pick up a signal. I carry an extra battery with me all the time. I don't know why more people don't. And give you a little hint, if you buy them off of the internet from offshore, they're generally, I don't know, 90% cheaper than if you were to buy them from your local cell phone company. Locally, the battery for my phone would have cost me $42 if I bought it retail. I got 3 of them for $8 from Hong Kong, China, I don't know, somewhere in Asia. 3 of them for $9 as opposed to 1 of them for $42. So you get everything here. You get consumer guide, tips, fashion accessory ideas, all kinds of stuff. Walkie-talkie, you might want to carry one of those little walkie-talkie dealies. I've got one that I carry in my backpack. Don't always carry it around with me, so it's not in my man purse, my always have with me bag. Moving along to Swiss Army knife. Doesn't have to be a Swiss Army knife. Could be a stiletto. Could be a saw. Could be a slicer of any kind, just so long as it starts with an S. So I carry kind of one of these Leatherman tools. My sun is quickly fading, so I better hurry this up quick. So you need a knife, Swiss Army knife, or a multi-tool of some kind for whittling down wet wood to its dry inner parts for making a fire, for cutting rope to assist in building a shelter, all kinds of stuff. I'm sure you can figure out what a knife would come in handy in a survival situation. We've covered finder, signaler, Swiss Army knife, shelter, and sunscreen. For my shelter, for part of shelter, of course, is your clothing. I also carry an emergency poncho. And also I have a couple, I don't want to take them out of there because it took me quite a while to scrunch them down and get them in so tightly like I like them. But there's a couple of space blankets there, wrapped up in a package with duct tape. Every outdoorsman's and woman's favorite friend, duct tape. In so many situations comes in handy for repairing straps on backpacks, holes in tents. Seen a show where they built a boat entirely out of duct tape. Don't know much about duct tape. 2 words, red, green. If you Google it or YouTube it, and you'll find all kinds of bizarre ways to use duct tape. Shelter can be made with a space blanket or a tarp. If you want to be extravagant and really comfortable, you can carry a small backpacking tent. My backpacking tent, which is back at camp, rolls down to a size that's not much bigger than my water filter. Maybe twice as big. A sunscreen. Clothing, much like shelter, your clothing works as part of your shelter. It also works as part of your sunscreen. Hat works as sunscreen. Sunglasses, part of sunscreen. Of course, sunscreen if you're in an area with a lot of sun, or you are particularly sensitive to sun, you should be slathering on the sunscreen. Over the past couple decades, of course, we've learned that skin cancer is becoming a more and more serious threat to one's prolonged health. So that's pretty much it. We've covered shelter and sunscreen, and those are the f-s-entials. I sink slowly into the sunset. Let's go through the f-s-entials one more time. So the take-home message is take the f-s-entials. Don't just have them. You need to take them with you when you're going out into the field. So we've got flashlight, first aid, fluid, fire starter, fashion, food, finder, signaler, Swiss Army knife, shelter, sunscreen, could save your life. Words to live by. Literally.